Hello and welcome to 2CrazyMedia. I'm your host Matthew, and today I'm going to be giving my review on Saros. It's been a little while since I've uploaded a video on the channel, about a week I'd say now. I sadly didn't have time to upload a video either this past Sunday or this past Tuesday. I've just been extremely busy lately. Finals season at school has kicked into full gear, so I've just been dealing with a lot of work, a lot of essays, a lot of projects, all that stuff. So apologies for me kind of falling off with video uploads lately, but I've just been so extremely busy with finals, but really trying to get more time lately right now to just get some videos out. And I've been wanting to do a review of Saros, and that was always my plan for this Thursday, to do a Saros review. I've been playing this game since it came out, or at least since the normal edition came out Thursday night. Or actually Wednesday night, actually. I've been playing it since then. And yeah, I'll be giving my review. This will be very similar to how I kind of format my reviews on every other video game I've done on the channel so far. So how about we just jump straight into it with this review for Saros, because I am really excited to finally be able to talk about Saros on the channel, as it is a game that I feel like I've talked about a lot on the channel before and kind of been able to, I hope my excitement for the game has come off on camera in past videos, because I was very looking forward to this game. So let's just jump straight into the Saros review. First, I want to start with a couple of key facts and details about the game, then I'll jump into my opinions on it after. So starting with Saros, it was developed by Housemarque, who is a studio owned under PlayStation. So this is a PlayStation first party game. Their last game was Returnal, which I'll kind of get into the similarities and differences of that in this video as well. It was released April 30th, 2026, so just a few days ago. I'm recording this as of Thursday, May 7th, so just a week after. Currently, as of May 7th, it is sitting at an 87 on OpenCritic and an 87 on Metacritic, so pretty good. One of the better reviewed games of the year so far, at least as of May. So the time I've spent playing, obviously the PlayStation clock can sometimes be wrong, but it says that I have about 22 hours in the game. So yeah, take that as you will. Good amount of hours, I'd say. And I finished the story over the weekend, so honestly a few days ago. I've just been kind of playing the game since, just kind of going back and going through everything again since then. But around the time I finished the story, I finished it in around 15 to 14 hours. I kind of really ran through it fast. I finished it honestly quicker than I thought. Not a knock on the game, just shocked how fast I was able to finish it. The platforms it is on is PS5, just PS5 exclusive, and there were reports a little while ago that it may not be coming to PC, like some PlayStation games do end up a year out. So yeah, we'll see if it just stays as a PS5 exclusive or at a later date comes to PC. But the platform I played it on was PS5 Pro, so got some better graphics. It looked real. I'll say this, it looked really good on PS5 Pro, fantastic. The hair textures, all that stuff looked extraordinarily good. But just for a quick synopsis from Housemarque themselves, Saros is a 2026 roguelike third-person shooter developed by Housemarque, where players control Arjun Devraj, a Soltari enforcer on the planet Carcosa, investigating a lost mining colony during a terrifying Lovecraftian eclipse. It features intense bullet hell gameplay with permanent character upgrades, focusing on a deeply personal, often maddening quest to find a love amidst existential threats and a hostile, shifting world. So how about we jump straight into my thoughts? There are going to be spoilers in this video, just to let you know, just to kind of put a disclaimer out there. The game's been out for a week already. If you haven't played the game yet and you don't want anything spoiled, then maybe click off for now and come back once you have played the game. But if you've already played it or you just don't really care for spoilers, then let's just jump straight into it. So just to kind of give my thoughts first before we go into pros and cons, is that Saros feels like Housemarque has truly, they're finally their game that they're truly becoming an all-timer studio with, Returnal was a great game. I just recently replayed through the game before Saros came out, just a few weeks ago. But they've taken a game in Returnal that is already fantastic and somehow used that formula and made it better in so many different ways. This feels like almost the ultimate evolution of that formula. I know it's only their second roguelike, but it feels like the ultimate evolution of it. And obviously it's not without its faults, which I'll get into. But I think Returnal, yes, is a great game, but Saros is both a fantastic game and also a game for everyone. I feel like Returnal, a lot of people were kind of almost put away from it because of how difficult it can be. The accessibility of Saros is my favorite part of this game, where it's giving players the ability to make it just as hard as Returnal, if not even harder, or provide more casual players the ability to also enjoy the game and get through the whole campaign and beat all the bosses. It's just another top-notch bullet ballet shooter from Housemarque. There's so many parts of this game that I absolutely loved and adored. I think just to start off with most of my pros of the game, I think one of the best parts of the game, and same with Returnal, is just the gameplay of it all. The feeling of just running around as a super powerful Soltari soldier as Arjun Devraj. And just, the best way to describe it is if Returnal is kind of like Doom 2016, then where you are very much mobile, you are running around, you don't want to be staying still in that game, you want to constantly be moving and make sure enemies don't hit you and dodging attacks and shooting enemies, and it's a very fast-paced game. If Returnal is Doom, then Saros is Doom Eternal, where Doom Eternal it took the series in a much more vertical way, where it was much more some platformer elements, very vertical, a lot of jumping, a lot of moving around even more than Doom 2016. And I feel like they kind of described it as almost a run and jump game. And I feel like Saros is a lot like that, where there is a lot more verticality. There's a lot more traversal in this game than Returnal, where you are moving even faster than Returnal. You've got these jump pads that you can go around. I mean, when I am playing like a full-on vulture, where I am killing someone and I'm instantly dodging, running, jumping towards them so I can collect their lucite before it goes away. Then going towards the next person, I'm constantly running in a circle around the whole zone. It's just a blast. It is so much fun. The moment-to-moment gameplay it's one of the best feeling games I have played in just a long, long time. It feels fantastic. If you just want a game straight just for the gameplay alone, I would recommend this game hands down over most other games out there. The gameplay feels so good. Kind of similar to almost the last big game that came out, Pragmata, where it is very gameplay focused, where the story kind of takes almost a backseat to how good the gameplay is and how good it feels. And with Pragmata, you've got the amazing hacking system and how fantastic that is. And in this game, you just have the gameplay itself and the whole movement and how fast you are and how powerful you feel at times, especially with like the shotgun. I love using like the shotgun with the vertical shot and how cool that feels. And my favorite gun in the game is the smart rifle and how it kind of like locks on, so I'm able to focus more on my movement and blocking attacks with the shield, which is a great addition. I love the shield and eating up all the blue pellets and even the yellow pellets once you unlock that feature in the armor matrix, which I'll talk about more later on, and using it to then use your power weapon and how awesome that feels. I love the power weapons, from the Disruptor to I'm forgetting the name, but it's the one with the big blast, the first one you unlock. I love that one. But my favorite is probably the Disruptor. It's so cool, kind of putting a lot of things on the enemies and then kind of like using it to kind of add even more damage on to them. It's super, super cool. I found myself using that one the most out of any of the power weapons. But yeah, the gunplay feels fantastic, just like Returnal. It feels fantastic to play when you're on the sticks. Moment-to-moment gameplay is the best part of this game. And like I said, I think the accessibility is also one of my favorite parts as well. I've definitely seen people say, and I understand when people say this game is much easier than Returnal, because at times it can be much, much easier than Returnal, but that is because it is up to you to make it easier than Returnal. You can make it easier if you want to, or you can make it harder if you want to. that's the great thing about the Carcosan modifiers in this game, where once you've beat the second boss, you unlock the Carcosan modifiers, where it's every time you go to the next area, travel to a level, you can choose different Carcosan modifiers, and you have to balance them out. You can't just go in with like make the game super easy, but you can't just also make it extremely hard. Or I think, yeah, you have to find a balance. I know in the settings there are accessibility features where you can kind of just null that all and just make it as easy as you want or as hard as you want, but at least if you're playing it normally, you kind of have to balance it out. There's different modifiers from giving you more, where enemies do less damage, or you do more damage to enemies, or the red attacks that you can't normally dodge through can now be dodged through. There's ones where like you pick up Lucenite from a further distance. There's just so many different modifiers. Ones where artifacts are increased by a level. There's a lot, and there's also different modifiers to make it harder. You've got ways to make the enemies hit harder. You can do less damage. There's just so many different things that I really, really like the Carcosa modifiers and how it really changes it up. I think it's such a great evolution from Returnal, which is a fantastic roguelike, but kind of falls short in the way of accessibility features and giving you more features to have. And one of my biggest issues with Returnal is that I feel like some of the runs definitely felt a little wasted, where I felt like I got really far in one run, but I died. I'm like, all right, that was a great run. I got super far, I got to a new point I haven't got to yet. That's great. And then the next run I get killed because just they spawned this one really hard enemy in that didn't spawn in last run. And I get killed, and I'm like, dang, that sucked. That run felt like it was for nothing. I got nothing out of it. With this game, you do get something, and that is that the resource that you earn, the Lucenite, even if you die during a run, you still go back. Maybe you'll lose like 50% of the Lucenite you earned, but you still have stuff that you earned, and you can put that onto the armor matrix, which is the skill tree of this game. And it just feels so nice that no run ever felt wasted, in my opinion. Every single run, I was earning Lucenite, where even if I died early on, or I got to the boss and died multiple times, which happened with a lot of bosses, but I still felt like it was a beneficial run because I was able to then use the Lucenite that I earned from the run to then upgrade and come back stronger. That's the whole motto of the game, is come back stronger. And it truly is, like, you truly every time come back even stronger than before. And yes, that does make the game easier at times because you are getting more health as you go on. You are earning more Lucenite. You're finding more ways. You're getting more shield power, all that stuff. But I think that it works to this game's benefit. I don't think it is a bad thing that you are making the game easier. I think, honestly, it feels really like you are accomplishing more. Nothing ever feels wasted. You are becoming stronger and stronger as you play and as you get better, even as, like, just because you're upgrading doesn't make the game super easy. It still throws tons of challenge at you, and if you are finding it too easy, you can then just use the Carcosan modifiers and make it harder and balance it out. But I just love how no run feels wasted. I think it's fantastic that I can die early on and go in and upgrade more of my armor matrix. I'm at a point now where almost 22, 23 hours into the game. Who knows actually if that's true. I feel like I have more, though. I feel like the PlayStation clock is wrong, and I definitely have more hours in the game, but no. I feel like at this point now, I've found I've gone back and I've done runs now where I've almost been able to go through every single level at once. Obviously, with some levels, once you get through it, you have to kind of go back to the passage. You can't go through every single level naturally without returning to the passage, which is like the area where you like upgrade and you talk to people and you read audio files and all that stuff. Kind of like a home base in a sense. You can't go through all like you can in Returnal. That isn't possible. Which does take some of the roguelikeness of it out. But I've been able to kind of go through most of it like linearly. And like I found myself just having so much fun just going through it all and speedrunning it and mowing through enemies, and just how fun it is to then go back. And I've almost unlocked every single audio file, every single audio file, and every single file to read, and I've almost completed the whole armor matrix. I'm actually very close. I don't have much left until I've completed the whole... Look, the skill tree is massive. It is humongous. I was shocked by how big it is, but I'm almost done with it, honestly. I've really been grinding and just obsessed. Like, the great thing about this game, and this is very similar to Returnal, where it is so addicting. After every single run, I'm like, one more run, and then one more run, and then one more, and that turns into 5 more runs, and 10 more runs, and it's just like, I can't get off, because I constantly want to do another run. It's something, whether I live or I die, it's just so much fun. It is addicting in the best way possible. So yeah, yes, while this game can be easy at times, and the whole comeback stronger definitely makes it easier, I do really like it personally because it gives almost the more casual players who were maybe turned off from Returnal, it gives them a chance to play the game. And I think I really love it when games are for everyone, and that everyone can have the chance to play it, where people who want to make it harder can make it harder, and people who want to make it easier can make it easier, and I think that is really, really nice. I have played the game on a pretty balanced level where I'm having a lot of trouble with... I had a lot of trouble with some of the later game bosses, like the priestess. Oh my god, that I found myself dying a lot to that boss. And even the king. But it's so much fun though, and even though I died a lot, when I finally beat it, it feels so rewarding. It feels so like, wow, I accomplished it. It's just a great feeling that you kind of get from soft games and a lot of Souls-like games as well, where it's like, when you finally beat that boss that you spent so long working towards, it's like, oh my god, it feels so nice to do that. So that's another thing I just love about this game. I do really like the feature of just being able to travel to any level I want. I know that's been a big talking point of, does that kind of take the roguelikeness away from the game? Just, you can't like run straight, you can't like, you can just go where you want to. So like, if I just wanted to go to one area and just do that one area, then I can go there. I don't have to like go through every single other zone or level before then to get back to it, which I personally like. I was always a little like, oh man, I have to run through the same enemies again, and it takes so long in Returnal to get through some of these areas, and some of these areas can be really hard, and it's like, other than just skipping the boss fight and maybe a few shortcuts that you unlock, it's like, dang, I was always really annoyed. I ended up just running past enemies and towards the end of Returnal, just to get back to where I was, where I died. And so I really like how in that game, they kind of just remove that, and they let you kind of just go whenever. Again, it's just another feature where it is an evolution of the sort of mechanics and roguelikeness of Returnal, of just making it more accessible to everyone, which I totally understand why some people may not like that. I am not the biggest roguelike person. I'm not the biggest Souls-like person. I always like a good challenge in a game, but I also really just like to play the game to play it through and finish the story and experience the story and experience what it has to say. And so it's a nice balance for me, at least, and I know for a lot of other people as well. Talking about some other things, getting away from sort of gameplay and all the nice new features they've added in, I think, Rahul Kohli is fantastic as Arjun Devrosh. I really liked him. He wasn't like a one-note forgettable character like Hugh from I love Pragmata, but Hugh was a very one-note boring himbo of a character. I think Arjun is a really cool character. I really liked him. Obviously, the acting from Rahul is fantastic. I love Rahul Kohli. But yeah, I just thought he was a great character. I had a lot of great and very relatable sort of ambitions and goals, and while you start to not like him towards the end, I think that is a cool sort of writing in the game. And that is the one part of the story I did like, and I'll kind of get into it later with the cons. The story was a little spotty for me, good in some areas, meh in others, but I'll get into that later. One of the best things this game does is the art direction. This is hands down, this will go down as one of the best art directions of any game this year. It looks fantastic. Like, this has to be at least nominated at the Game Awards at the end of the year for best art direction. It looks beautiful. I mean, just the design of everything, and the world of Carcosa looks so cool. And then when you go from just the normal to going into the eclipse, and everything looking so much darker and more orange and red, and angry, and the weird tendril thingies that kind of like are like going out of all the walls, and it just looks so cool. The design is so unique. It's so different. I love it. I love the way Carcosa looks. I love the design, the sound design. It's creepy and beautiful and just fantastic. Where when you get close to the eclipse, you hear whispering. If you stare at the eclipse for too long, it'll like zoom in and you'll hear like creepy whispering. And it's just like everything sounds and looks just extraordinary, cool, and unique. This is a good-looking game and a cool-looking game at the same time, and I love that. It just looks awesome. Some of the environments, some of the later environments, like when you go into like the actual like the city, the Citadel, and it just I'm remembering. I think that's what it's called, but I could be wrong. But just the marble floors and the ceilings and these massive ceilings and walls and how big some of the rooms are and how grand they look, and you're fighting through it, and it just looks insane. The art direction is just bonkers in the best way possible. It's seriously fantastic. They housemarked all the art designers at the studio. They cooked with this game. Another thing I really loved, and straight from just the open of the game, I was like hooked on immediately, is the score, the music of this game. Whoever decided to use a guitar in the main theme, a genius. They deserve all the credit. They deserve $1 million, whatever. Just like the score, the soundtrack, the music that you are fighting in during is just, it is so good. It just locks me in immediately. I love good music in games. I love just music in general in games. I just think music has such a special place in video games and gamings, and can really add to a scene instead of subtract. I think music can provide so much emotion, even just from a score, something orchestral can add so much layers to a game and give you such a different vibe. Like I think of like Death Stranding, and when you're walking through and you've got like a low roar song that starts playing, and it's like how much that adds to it, where the game is already beautiful and just fantastic, but then that adds so much more to it. And I feel like with this game, I'm playing and I've just got this awesome guitar riff while I'm fighting, and it's like immediately like the first boss you fight in this game. At one point you've got, when you get to the third phase of the first boss fight, and the zone that you're fighting in really closes up, so you're in a small little enclosed area all of a sudden, and the music changes. That moment, I will never forget that one part. Just, it was so cool how the music gets so much more serious, and it was a gnarly moment that I loved, and I was like, I had a pause, and I was like, whoa, I need to like take that all in for just a second. Like, it's stressful, this boss, I'm dying to it. I will admit, I know a lot of people was able to beat the first boss first try. I took like 3 tries to beat the first boss and like 5 tries to beat the second boss. But no, I just like that opening boss fight, not the opening one, but the first like actual boss fight, and just the music and the third phase just was like, whoa. Like, I love the score of this game so much. It's so badass. It really just gets you in immediately. Also, the opening credits, I did not expect that, how cool for that to be, where it feels like it's a movie. It's cinematic. I love when games get cinematic. It's always so cool. And yeah, the opening credits was a nice little touch that I just wanted to shout out. Like, that's awesome. Talking about kind of the boss fights as well. They were a good mix of challenging and really cool looking. There were some that were awesome. I think also some that were a little disappointing. I looked to like the third boss fight, Rabdom, or however you pronounce it, like that big guy. Didn't like it that much. That felt kind of like another version of some of the more alpha enemies that you fight that look the same and kind of have the same attacks and all that stuff, but just bigger. And it was also the only boss in the game that only had one phase. So that boss was disappointing, because that was one boss that I was able to beat first try, and that's just because you just have to run around and constantly grapple and get away from it and be as far as possible, and then it's an easy win. So that boss fight was a little disappointing, and while I thought it looked, the boss fight that you fight in the marsh, the blighted marsh, forgot what the boss is called, but it's kind of like flying in the air and it's got a bunch of different things around it. I did not like that boss. I thought it was also a little, I also beat that one like second try, and I thought it was a little disappointing. I think in terms of really good boss fights, my favorite one was the Shepherd, the big sea creature. It was so cool. Being on a boat, this really small little a zone that you get to play in, and having this massive Lovecraftian monster was so cool. It was probably the grandest boss in the game, and the design is, again, art direction top notch, but just it was a fun boss because it added so many different mechanics to it every single phase. Like you have to like kill as many tentacles as possible and jump when it tries to like swipe at you, and then jump when it puts like the yellow thing when it slams on the ground and all that stuff. Like super cool. And then once you get into once the boss actually gets up and starts fighting you, and for the first phase is fairly simple, and then the second phase, when it has like the two tentacles on both sides, and you have to jump over the yellow orbs and jump over the red orbs that go even faster, and then it's such a fun boss fight. And then the final phase, when he puts his thumb down and every few seconds does more like things that you need to jump over. It was just a fun boss fight. It took me a few tries to beat, and it was just it was an exhilarating experience. Like, that is a boss fight that I absolutely loved. That was my favorite fight in the game. I think other boss fights were fun. The King is really fun. I was able to beat both the main story and also then the secret ending in like the same night, the same sitting. So like as soon as I beat like the main story, I had heard there was like a secret ending, actually, like a true ending. So I went and immediately went to go do that. And fighting the King again, I was like, whoa, it got even harder. Like I already died a few times facing off the King first time. But the second time, I was like, this got even harder. Like, I thought I'd beat it first try. Like, going to, like, I get this boss now. Like, I understand. I learned its attack pattern. And then I'm, like, getting destroyed even more. And it's like, that was a lot of fun. It's a fun boss fight. Even, like, the first and second boss fight, even though they're immobile and they stay still, they were really, really fun. Like, I enjoyed myself with most of the boss fights. There were one or two that were a little disappointing, but for the most part, they were all the rest of them were really, really good. Now just a few more pros. Enemy variety was good. There were enough enemies that I felt like I wasn't ever like, oh, it's the same one-on-one. Obviously, like later in the game, once I already finished it and I played through all the worlds a million times, and I'm just grinding now to like be able to complete the whole armor matrix. Yes, it starts to like, yes, you see all the enemies a million times, but I think there's enough where it's like they all do different attacks and they feel different enough when you're fighting them. But yeah. Now I'm just gonna kind of jump into some cons. I don't have too many cons with the game, but I think my biggest one, and I think this is the one that most people have with the game, and that is the story. I don't think the story is bad in any way. I just think it is meh. For how much emphasis it tries to put on the story, it doesn't live up to how much they're trying to make it important, like how important they treat it in the game. It's not that great. It's honestly, there's less than what I thought it would be of story. At a certain point later in the game, it's like almost like you have no one to talk to at a certain point. You kind of just lose everyone to talk to. Like everyone just either dies or leaves. And I was kind of shocked because during like the first few hours of the game, I was really enjoying all the cutscenes with Echelon 4 and Arjun and exploring them more and seeing each one of them go more and more insane and crazy. And there was even a cutscene later towards the middle of the game where I'm like, whoa, I was like really invested in the characters and all that stuff. But then as you get later in the game and they kind of go away and it's kind of just Arjun, it fell apart for me. I think some things that I didn't like the most were just the audio files, and some of the files you read just found very like similar to many other games where it's like this guy's going crazy and he wants all the power, or then you have another person talking about how it's like, oh, I'm stuck, and it just sounded very like I've heard similar, just different buzzwords in a lot of other games and other mediums. And so I wasn't that invested in it. Like, I think, honestly, I was a little more invested in the story in Returnal, even though it was more subtle. I just think, the moments where you would go into the house and go first person, and the astronaut, and all the creepiness of the astronaut jump scares, and how creepy and cool that was, and the environmental storytelling of the house and all that stuff. And the story you learn in that game, I honestly like that more than this game's story. Now I know there's a lot of drama around the ending, and that most of the drama is fake. It's made up, AI generated, whatever. But I like the true ending. I thought it was a good ending, but I just didn't love the story that much. It was probably the thing that was most disappointing for me going into this game. Was I was expecting, like, obviously they've got like Rahul Kohli, and they've got these actual like cutscenes and stuff. So I'm like, oh wow, there's gonna be a good story. And then as you get later in the game, I'm like, it's fine. It's not the best story, honestly. It's a little disappointing. It's not bad. It's just like not on the level I thought it would be, and I wish they kind of almost went more into more of the subtle storytelling than like I didn't get into the characters. I didn't love some of the stuff they did with it, and it wasn't bad. It was just meh. It was serviceable, and I think I'm just a little disappointed because of that. I was expecting a lot more in terms of the story, and while I like where it ended, I just didn't love it for the most part. So yeah. So just some other smaller cons I didn't like about the game was the weapon variety. I found some weapons to be really good. Like the burst pistol, fantastic. Most of the assault rifles, great. The smart rifle, I have not gotten rid of that gun for a long time. I've stuck to that gun for a while now. I love that gun. It's just so good. Even the shotgun, the vertical shot, this is awesome. But there were the two other guns in the game. I did not like the crossbow, like the bow thrower thingy, the javelin thrower. I didn't like it that much. Maybe it's just because I was bad with it, and every single time I picked it up, I just died immediately. Like, I had a really hard time with it. So I didn't love that much, and I really didn't like the saw weapon. I know I've seen gameplay of people really, like, destroying enemies with it, but me personally, I wasn't a fan of it that much. It was too much to focus on that, and, like, recalling your saws back, and if you have it, or if it's in an enemy currently, and then also having to worry about dodging attacks and movement and all that stuff. So yeah, I didn't love those. I just wish there were more guns. Like, I think of all the guns in Returnal, and I think there were definitely more guns that I liked in Returnal than the amount of guns I liked in Saros. And then final little con is just character animations don't look great. They look a little jank at times. Like, I think in a lot of cutscenes, like the mouth movement and stuff, they look a little stiff at times, but at other times they look a little too much like emotive. So yeah, not a little jank. I think also at some points when like you're just talking to a character and they're like constantly like idly like moving like that, like in a video game where like a character's like that, like an old like SNES game, and it's like, okay, this is just, it doesn't look great. The character animations were a little jank at times. But yeah, that's all my cons. Overall, a great game, just a disappointing story, a meh story, not a bad story, a meh story. But I just didn't feel that invested in the characters. I wish I was invested more. I just didn't really care for them much. I found myself just kind of skipping listening to the audio files as I got, like, after I finished the story, and it was just like finding like the miscellaneous audio files around. I just kind of like stopped listening to them. Like, I was like, okay, cool. Like, okay, cool. It was meh at that point. But yes, overall, this game is great. Not without its issues. Story, definitely a little disappointing, but I think other than the story, the gameplay feels fantastic. It is just a fantastic feeling game. It is a great game in terms of accessibility. I love the amount of just the evolution from Returnal to Saros and what they've changed and what they've added, and kind of just all that they've fixed a lot of issues that I had with Returnal, and more so just personal issues of the game just being very difficult and feeling like I wasted a lot of runs, and runs just didn't feel worth it. And how every run would come back stronger. Everything feels beneficial that you're doing this game, and I love that. I think that's fantastic, and overall, just a fantastic evolution for Housemarque. A really good game, one of the better games of the year, and one of my favorites so far. And so that's why I'm going to be giving Saros a 9 out of 10. So really, really good. It's definitely in my top 3 for now with Resident Evil Requiem and also Screamer, my other 2 favorite games of the year so far. I don't know if I definitely Resident Evil Requiem was definitely better than this. In terms of Screamer, I've been very back and forth of the 2, where like I really, really like this game. This game was fantastic. But then I think back on Screamer, I'm like, I still want to go back and still just play races. Like, I'm addicted to Screamer. That game is so good. So I'm very much flip-flopping of which one I like more out of the 2. But yeah, definitely in my top 3. Who knows if that's going to change. I know as soon as I'm done recording this video, I am going on PlayStation and I'm immediately playing Mixtape. Because it's out today. The reviews are insane, extraordinarily good, and this is a game I've talked about on the channel multiple times before, just how excited I am for it and how much I cannot wait, and how this is one of my most anticipated games of the year. It's finally out, and I think this is it's probably going to end up being one of my favorites of the year. So who knows where Saros and where its ranking will change after I play Mixtape. But yeah, so that's what I'm going to be doing right after I'm done uploading this video, is immediately going and playing through all the Mixtape today, because I'm taking the day off of like finals and schoolwork to play Mixtape. So yeah, that's all for today's video. Returnal is going to be Saros is going to be getting a 9 out of 10, a fantastic, really, really good video game. Not the best game out there. And as someone who loves stories and games, that's why I think I'm more disappointed about it, is just because I love stories in games. It's always like some of my favorite parts of every video game is the story, and I think the same with Pragmata, where I didn't like the story of that game, so that kind of took it down a little bit for me. And same with this game, I didn't like the story in this game either, and it took it down for me, but the gameplay really does save it. Like a ton, the gameplay is the best part of the game. It's so much fun. I highly recommend this game, and honestly, I recommend this game. I wouldn't recommend Returnal to most people, but I would recommend this game to everyone. This is a game that anyone can play, and once you get past the second boss, you can make the game as easy as you want to or as hard as you want to and have just as much fun. This is a fantastic game, a great evolution for Housemarque, and a 9 out of 10. So that's going to be all for today's video. I should hopefully have a video up this Sunday, a news video. There's been a ton of news this week, video game news. There's so much I want to talk about, from just so much news yesterday in terms of both the Star Fox surprise presentation that Nintendo put on, but also the Stranger Than Heaven presentation that also happened yesterday, which the trailer that came with it, the cast and story trailer, one of my favorite trailers I ever watched. That song, the main theme song for Stranger Than Heaven, they need to drop it on Spotify immediately. Like, I need to listen to that. I've already watched that trailer 10 times already. It's such a good trailer. But yeah, so I definitely want to talk about all that and more on Sunday. Hopefully I'll be able to upload a video this week. And again, final season with school, just a lot. Very busy with a lot of work, a lot of stress. But I should hopefully I really want to find the time to get that video out, just so I can talk more about those 2 things and more that happened this week in gaming. And then definitely next week on the channel, expect a review for Mixtape, because I'm so excited to play it. So excited. So expect a Mixtape review on the channel next week. But that's going to be all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I'd love to hear your opinion on Saros in the comments below. What'd you like about it? What didn't you like about it? If you loved it, let me know. I, again, love hearing your guys' opinions on games and all that stuff. So let me know what you think of Saros down below. Again, my opinion, my review is just my opinion. It's my own opinion, and everyone has different opinions on things. So please, I'll respect your opinion if you respect my opinion. That's the whole thing. But yeah, so really want to hear if you like the game, if you love the game or even more than I did, or if you didn't like the game, if you liked it even less, if you didn't like it even more than I did. Let me know in the comments below. Super curious to hear all that. But that's going to be all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, like, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications, all that stuff to get notified for the next few videos, especially the Mixtape review coming next week. And that's going to be all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.